Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping into a source you shared that really caught our eye.
Yeah, this one felt different.
It's an article, Strategic People ROI, How Finance and HR Partner to Measure, Maximize, and Mutually Benefit from the Employee Life Cycle. The author is Paolo Fontana.
And what's really key here, I think, is his background. Paolo Fontana has actually led both finance and HR teams.
Right, that dual perspective is kind of the whole point. It really informs the framework he lays out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, traditionally, finance looks at employees, and often it's just, well, it's primarily about cost, isn't it? Salaries, benefits, training expenses.
hmm
But Fontana argues we need to shift that view, move beyond just seeing people as costs, and actually start quantifying the value exchange.
The value exchange. Okay.
Between the company and the employee, across their whole time there.
So it's like applying a real cost-benefit analysis, but to people.
Exactly. Not just how much could we spend,
Right.
but what's the return? And crucially, acknowledging that value flows both ways.
Okay, I'm with you. So let's maybe unpack that. How does this look across the employee life cycle through that particular lens? The article mentions, what, 7 stages?
Yeah, 7 key stages. And from the company side, each one is basically an investment or a cost.
Right. It kicks off with recruitment.
And think about the costs there. You've got job ads, maybe agency fees, interviewer time, all the admin. It's a pretty significant upfront investment just to get someone in the door.
Makes sense. Then step 2 is onboarding.
Right. And that's not just filling out forms, is it? It's training, getting them set up on systems, maybe some peer mentoring, plus that initial period where, let's face it, they're not fully productive yet.
So there's a direct cost and kind of an opportunity cost there, too.
Precisely. Then you move into training and development.
Which is obviously a cost, but the article frames it more like a strategic investment, right?
Exactly. You're spending time and money to build skills, hoping for, better productivity, fewer mistakes, building long-term capability. It's an investment, expecting a payoff.
Okay. Then the big one, compensation and benefits.
Yeah, probably the largest direct expense. But the article also positions this as a key part of the value the company offers. You need competitive packages as an investment to attract and keep the talent who deliver the value back.
Right. You have to spend money to make money, essentially, through people.
Sort of, yeah. Then performance management.
This is where you check if the investment is actually, well, working.
Ensuring the employee is contributing effectively, meeting goals. It's about seeing how that investment is translating into results.
Got it. And then retention and engagement.
Super important because, as we know, high turnover is incredibly expensive.
Yeah. Constant recruiting, retraining.
Exactly. So the article stresses that investing in engagement and a positive environment is about minimizing those replacement costs. It's protecting your earlier investments.
Right, protecting the investment. And finally, offboarding.
Yeah, even when someone leaves, there are costs. Severance, maybe outplacement help, but also, critically, investing in knowledge transfer. You want to capture the value they created before they leave.
Okay, so that lays out the company's perspective, the costs, the investments across that whole journey. But the core idea was this value exchange. So what about the other side? What value does the employee bring back? The article lists 7 core values for that, too.
That's right. This is the benefit side of the equation, the return on that company investment. First, the obvious one, productivity and quality of work, their actual output.
The tangible stuff makes sense.
Then skill application and development. How well are they using the skills they have, and are they growing new ones the business needs?
Okay. What else?
Collaboration and teamwork, hugely important. How well do they work with others?
Then adherence to company values and culture.
Yep. Do they fit? Do they reinforce the culture or work against it?
And innovation and problem solving, are they just doing the job or are they bringing new ideas, finding better ways?
That's a big one. Also, reliability and commitment. Are they dependable? Do they follow through?
Yeah, basic but crucial.
And finally, knowledge transfer and mentorship. Are they sharing what they know, helping others level up, building the team's overall strength?
So these 7 things represent the employee's contribution, the return part of the ROI.
Exactly. That's the value they deliver back.
Okay, so we have the company's investment stages and the employee's value delivery points. How do we actually, measure this whole two-way street? The article mentions traditional HR KPIs first.
Right. Things like time to hire, cost per hire, turnover rates, maybe engagement scores. And those are useful, definitely. They help spot inefficiencies in HR processes.
Sure, standard stuff.
But the novel part that Fontana proposes is a method specifically to measure that reciprocal value exchange, and importantly, to highlight where perceptions might differ.
Ah, the perception gaps. How does that work? He suggests a survey.
Yeah, a structured survey framework, but with two perspectives, dual perspectives.
Okay, interesting. How does that break down?
Well, first, you get the employee's perception through a self-assessment. The employee rates, maybe on a simple scale like 1 to 3, how well they feel the company is delivering value to them across those 7 life cycle stages we talked about: recruitment, onboarding, etc.
So, how well the company is doing its part from their view.
Exactly. And then in the same survey, the employee also rates their own perception of how well they think they're delivering on those 7 core values: productivity, innovation, etc., to the company.
Okay, so they rate both what they receive and what they give.
Precisely. Then you get the employer's perception, usually the manager, maybe with some HR input.
And they do the same thing.
Pretty much. The manager rates their perception of how well the company is delivering on the 7 life cycle stages for that specific employee.
Right.
And they also rate their perception of how effectively that employee is delivering on the 7 core values to the company.
Okay, so you end up with 2 complete sets of scores for the same employee, their own view, and their manager's view.
Exactly. And the real power comes when you compare them. Put those scores side by side. That's where you see the perception gaps.
Right. Where do their views not line up? Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say an employee rates training and development, the value they get from the company as low, a 1. But their manager rates the company's delivery of training to that employee as high, maybe a 3.
Okay, big difference.
That immediately flags a disconnect, doesn't it? Maybe the training exists, but the employee doesn't know about it or doesn't see its relevance. It tells HR or the manager, hey, we need to look into this specific area.
I see. Or maybe on the employee contribution side.
Yeah, say the employee rates their own innovation and problem solving as high, a 3, but the manager rates it low, a 1.
Ah, okay. That's a performance conversation starter right there.
Exactly. It's not just, I think you could be more innovative. It's, look, there's a measured gap here in how we perceive your contribution on innovation. Let's talk about why.
And presumably where the scores do line up, that shows agreement, right? Areas of strength or mutual understanding.
Precisely. It gives you a clear, data-driven basis for those conversations, whether it's about development needs or performance.
And to make this clear, the article suggests visualizing it using radar charts.
Yeah, exactly. Radar charts, sometimes called spiderweb charts. You generate 2 for each evaluation.
Okay, what's the first one show?
The first one focuses on the company's delivery. Those 7 employee lifecycle stages become the axis, like spokes on a wheel.
Got it. 7 spokes.
And then you plot 2 lines on that chart. One connects the dots for the employees' scores on each stage, how they perceive the company's delivery. The other line connects the manager's scores for the company's delivery on those same stages.
Okay, so 2 lines on one chart showing the company side and the second chart.
Same idea, but it focuses on the employee's delivery. The axes are the 7 core values: productivity, collaboration, etc.
Right.
And again, you plot 2 lines, the employee's self-rating on delivering those values and the manager's rating of the employee's delivery.
So by just looking at these 2 charts,
You instantly see it. Where the lines overlap, there's agreement. Where they diverge widely,
that's your significant perception gap.
absolutely. If lots of employees rate training low, maybe that's where you invest. If there's a consistent manager-employee gap on, say, innovation across a team, maybe that points to a need for specific coaching or clearer expectations. It helps optimize where you spend your time and money.
So the ultimate aim is fostering a relationship that's genuinely beneficial for both sides, built on like a clear shared understanding.
That's the goal. A transparent understanding of the value being exchanged and how it's seen by both the company and the employee.
And the argument is that kind of alignment leads to better results.
Yeah, the thinking is pretty compelling. If both sides feel the value exchange is fair and understood, you're likely to get higher satisfaction, better engagement, stronger performance, and crucially, better retention. And all of that hits the bottom line positively.
This whole deep dive into Fontana's article really does shift the perspective, doesn't it? It's about applying that financial rigor, the ROI mindset to people, our, most important asset.
But doing it in a way that measures value going both ways. Creating a framework to understand the mutual return on investment in that relationship.
It really turns that old HR as a cost center idea on its head. Makes it about value creation.
Yeah, it's a powerful concept.
So here's something to think about. How could explicitly measuring and visualizing this mutual value exchange, not just performance, not just company spend, but how both sides see the give and take? How could that fundamentally change the way your organization handles performance reviews, development talks, retention efforts, and ultimately affect your financial results?